Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. I touch the flowerness in me. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flowerness, fresh. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. I touch a mountain in me. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain, solid. Breathing in, I see myself as still water. Breathing out, I reflect things as they are. I touch the clarity in me. Clear water, reflecting clearly. Breathing in, I see myself as vast space. Breathing out, I feel free. Space, free. So, good morning, dear Tyler Sangha. Welcome to our Day of Mindfulness on Sunday, May 26th, in the year 2019. We're in the Ocean of Peace Hall in Deer Park Monastery in Escondido, California, United States of America, in the continent of the Americas, on planet Earth, next to Mars, in one of the solar systems of the Milky Way galaxy, neighboring the Andromeda galaxy, in the ever-expanding universe. And here we are, breathing. We can wiggle our fingers. We can open and close our eyes. We can look around and see each other. We can communicate through making these sounds, and they're understood to mean something. It hasn't always been like this. So this is a miracle that is taking place right here and right now. So I always appreciate to kind of expand my perspective on things. And I think that is maybe the theme of the talk, how we can look at our lives and our daily activities, maybe in a new light that will change everything. And so last weekend we celebrated Vesak, the birthday of Siddhartha Gautama, about 2,600 years ago. A little boy is born from a mother under some trees. And he grew up and got educated and trained to be a king, but chose to leave his family and set out for a spiritual quest, recognizing that his father, the king, couldn't really transform the lives of the people. couldn't really bring freedom to people. So that's what he set out to do. And no one could show him the way all the way to the end of the path. But he had the courage and conviction that he could still find it. And that's what brings us all here today. Otherwise, our path would not have crossed. And so celebrating Vesak for me is recognizing this precious individual and his legacy to the world. You can see Buddhas as symbols of peace wherever you go, not just in practicing, Buddhist families or in mindfulness settings. So it's remarkable what one person can do if we're clear on what is important for us and clear out what we want our lives to be about. And so maybe soon 3 years ago we had a Deer Park pilgrimage in India. There's 10 monastics or so. We went early to lead some retreats. And then we had about 70 lay friends that came over for a couple of weeks, and we had a 2-week pilgrimage in the footsteps of the Buddha. And I'd been to India before and visited Vulture Peak and Bodh Gaya. But somehow when we visited Lumbini, where Siddhartha was born, and Kushinagar, where the Buddha passed away, it brings it into this very tangible and clear perspective of, yes, there was a human being. And because he could do so many wonderful things already during his lifetimes, following kings made sure to mark the places where he had lived. And so going on this pilgrimage, we didn't walk. Many times someone go on a pilgrimage, they walk, right? We were on these AC buses. There were 3 buses in the fleet. We were going through little villages and across India. And actually, I enjoyed the Lumbini stop a lot because we parked the bus and we had to walk quite a distance. It was in the early morning, and we started doing walking meditation. It was kind of reflecting square pools along the way and trees along, and you could see like the temple area or the park in the distance. And the sun was rising and starting to shine on us, getting warmer. And then I felt like, yeah, this is a pilgrimage. It's not only sweet and pleasant and you get dropped off at the gate and the site is right inside the gate. You actually have to walk a mile or so. And it's getting a bit hot and there's insects in the air. You have to make a little bit of an effort. You have to overcome some conveniences to really go to a place, a sacred place. So that's one of the elements I enjoy in visiting Lumbini and the birthplace, but also this tangible thing of, yes, a baby boy is born. And as we're visiting Kushinagar and the Mahaparinirvana temple, I felt a little bit drowsy that day. We've kind of been on the bus again and moving around. So when we came, I just started walking around. I didn't follow the group. I started walking around the park, and then I went into the temple. This long, reclining Buddha in the lion pose. And so I sat down in the corner over by the head of the reclining Buddha. And it was also this sense of gratitude and respect just welling up in me. But also touching a sense of peace and a sense of serenity that I've never touched before in my life. So subtle, so soothing. We mostly hear the stories about the Buddha during his life. I also enjoy recognizing these kind of the so-called birth and death of Siddhartha Gautama that we celebrated the birth of last week. And so for me is to also come in contact with the qualities of the Buddha. Doing even this simple guided meditation we do with the children with pebbles, the 4 pebbles. For me is helping cultivate qualities of the Buddha. Of freshness, of aliveness, of stability, solidity, of being able to see clearly, to reflect things without distorting them. And touching peace and freedom, the spaciousness. So I feel that the Vesak and the pebble meditation go very nicely together. And we're also slowly starting to prepare for our family retreat this year. So it's also brings about these practices we offer through the children. I remember sitting under the oak tree where Tai, our teacher, first offered the pebble meditation in the early 80s, at the Ojai Foundation. And the song Breathing In, Breathing Out also came to be. It's also kind of a pilgrimage. You go places where you know something has happened, something precious has taken place, and it becomes like a pilgrimage. It's not just an ordinary place, but it's a place where you can go for refuge, a place where you can go and generate the kind of reverence and respect in your own heart. So on Vesak Day, we bathe the baby Buddha with clear water filled with flowers. But we also want to practice to bathe the baby Buddha when we do our dishes. So we're not just rushing over it or having chit-chat conversations at the washing up tub, but that we're actually washing the bowl, the plate. Sometimes I look at the water and say, like, I'm not sure this is fit for bathing any little baby. It's a little bit too greasy by the time I get there. So sometimes I translate in my mind as I'm bathing an ambassador of the cosmos. Because I know this bowl and plate didn't just come from nowhere. And so this morning when I wash my spoon and my fork, I was feeling the shape of it and washing it with this warm soapy water. I also try to be aware of where this stainless steel comes from, how it's been manufactured, by whom it's been made, what kind of factories has been a part of the chain of events leading up to this fork and spoon in my hand. So this is also the kind of deep looking that the practice invites us to. The life of the Buddha invites us to, and not just think we know a flower, a spoon, but to come in deep contact with whatever we're doing. And so the first time I really touched that an object can really like hold presence, or you feel the difference. It's not just one thermos and then another thermos. As one of the older sisters, this is years ago, she had forgotten her water bottle in the dining hall. So I thought I'd go over and pick it up and keep it, and next time we're in clarity, I'll give it to her. And I picked it up, and I feel like it's an angel. It's like this serenity and this gentle energy. It's like, wow. I never, almost feel like very precious. So how our presence, the way we pick something up, they have an impact on the object. They have the impact on our environment. And so the path of the Buddha is also one of non-violence. So one term I still haven't come to terms with in the U.S. is, I'm just going to grab this. And I'm just going to grab that. My thermos doesn't like you to grab it, but you can hold it and pick it up. That's okay. But it also entails not just the grabbing that seems like close to grasping, that doesn't seem to bring happiness, but also I'm just going to. It's like on the way somewhere, or that we're in a rush. So it implies all these things that we're not really there to pick up the thermos, to wash our bowl with the reverence of bathing a little baby. So we can continue Vesak Day throughout the year. When we're picking up objects, we can recognize that this cup didn't just come from nowhere. So today I wanted to share a little bit about my experience the last many months by now. In August last year, I got to learn that I was seriously ill, and started going to the doctor and going through treatments and tests and doing many things I've never done in my life before. And as I first learned the news, it was the first arrival day on a retreat in Minnesota. A group of 8 of us were in Minnesota leading an Earth Holder retreat. And since the theme was Earth Holder and coming in contact with Mother Earth, and also finding ways to live more in harmony with the Earth to mitigate the climate crisis, I was looking at the trees. I really enjoy the trees. There's big leaf trees in the Middle West, and it's by a lake, and there's a lot of breeze coming through the trees. So the natural setting of the place is very different from here. And so as I was walking through the campus of this retreat center we were at, I was looking at the wind and the leaves playing. And I was asking myself if I can see myself in the leaves, if I could see myself in the wind, to expand my sense of self. And as I came home and started going to the doctor and shared with the community and so on, I also asked myself, so if this is it, if my life won't become much longer, would I be okay? Asking myself the question, would I be willing and able to let go? And it gave rise to just a natural upswell of gratitudes. It was one morning I was sitting, having tea in my room, and just these gratitude, these images of what I've experienced in my life, things I've been able to be part of, people I've met, just kept coming up, especially after ordaining and being in this community and meeting Thai and traveling, many places with the Sangha. I feel like I'm so fortunate. This is so many blessings I've experienced already in this life, so how can I ask for more? What more can I ask for? And so this sense of peace and rejoicing in what I've been able to experience, and also what I can touch at that moment. And I'm also well, yeah, who knows? Where illness and treatments will go. Yeah. And so as I was going to the hospital and observing people and considering also my own situation of having a community to support me, brothers taking turns driving me to the hospital, and shortly after coming home, my mother coming over from Sweden, spending 5 months with us here. And that the government has provided a health insurance that I qualify for. That I get to go to a good doctor with excellent treatment. And so there's so many gratitudes also for the conditions I have actually like facing and going through this challenge. So gratitude just kept coming as being as a theme, to look at things with gratitude. And so in this process too, I was very clear about the gratitude of having been able to train my mind. In some other ways that we're practicing and training in the Pebble meditation, to nurture qualities in myself and to learn how to calm my body, to relax, to recognize and embrace my feelings, not to be too carried away by my perceptions, and to learn to accept and to understand things. So looking around in the waiting room, I looking and seeing, also wanting to send compassion to people around me, because I'm not sure, I don't think they're as fortunate as I am with all those conditions. I'm not sure they all have those conditions. You know? Some people came in with the person escorting them looking as sick as they are, you know, or obviously really worried and tight and tense, you know. So it showed me there's always something to be grateful for and to rejoice in. And so one of the big gratitudes was then of having a lot of support, living in community, and reflecting on the situation of many people in society, of either living alone or in a little nucleus family or a partnership, of working long hours, of traveling, of seeing friends now and then, but also everyone is busy with their lives. How are we organizing our lives so if something happened to us or our loved one or our friends, we can be there for them and support them? We have enough time, we have enough energy, we have enough space in our own hearts, our own lives, to be a resource. Last Thursday, the monastics, we had a tea meditation. And there were some beautiful sharings and songs during this tea meditation. And the novice brothers had prepared a song. They prepared many songs, but I think they had time to offer one. And it's "Lean on Me When You're Not Strong." We all need a friend to lean on. And so as I heard them sing the song, tears start coming in my eyes and my heart starts beating. Because I knew that's those very brothers were the ones driving me to the doctor, driving me to the dining hall, or bringing food to my room. These were the brothers that would cook for me and clean my clothes. So that period of really needing someone to lean on, it gave me a deeper appreciation of community and inviting me or forcing me to practice taking refuge in a more deep way. What does it mean to rely on others, to do even simple things in my daily life. And I could also feel the cycle of giving and receiving continuing, since I'd spent a lot of time with these brothers as aspirants the following year, the year before, as one of their mentors and offering classes. And so you could see like how the giving and the receiving and the giving, it kind of keeps circulating, and who is the giver and who is the receiver, and what is being exchanged. You know? It's beautiful to see and experience that up close. And so a practice I also engaged in during this period and kind of started in the beginning was also to communicate with the cancer inside of me and ask Mr. Melanoma, what can I learn from all of this? And my mom, when she was here, she asked me, like, how do you know it's Mr.? I say, if it's not a male, he cannot stay in the monk's residence. And so the intention was also to recognize that Mr. Melanoma also is a living organism that wants to live, that doesn't want to be destroyed. So as I was going through treatment and I practicing to send light and healing energy into those areas, I also send it with a message that, as cancer cells, you could just do so much. If you would be able to take over this body, and then what? You don't have much, you have kind of narrow limits of what you can do in your life as Mr. Melanoma. But I learned that even, that the cancer cells, some of their energy and proteins is reabsorbed by the body. So I was visualizing and asking, if you allow yourself to be transformed, you can become a human being, and together we can do much more cool things. We can go places and we can do things that as a cancer cell, just on your own, you will never be able to do. And so not trying to create a fight. So coming back to this principle of nonviolence, how can I cultivate nonviolence in this? And I been very fortunate because I feel also my doctor hasn't been like, talking in words of killing or like this and that, but like transformation and healing. So I've been very blessed in so many ways. But to keep my relationship with sickness in that sense of what can I learn from this? Not be too sure that is just pure unlucky. It created conditions for my mother to come out here and stay for 5 months. I get to speak my mother tongue for every day for 5 months. I get to spend quality time with my mom and allowing her also to support me and also to lean on her. Very precious. I haven't spent that much time with her since I left Sweden in 2001. So that seems very lucky. And as I started the treatment, my just general energies kind of go down, seem very unlucky. But then it seemed like the treatment is really responding. My body is responding well to the treatment, so things are shrinking. That's good, lucky. Yeah. But the body responds too well to the treatment, so it gets overexcited and inflammation starts happening, so we have to cool it down, so we can't treat anymore. So that seems unlucky again. Yeah. You can go up and down, like with this, like celebrations and defeats every couple of days with new symptoms or new feelings in the body. There was a day when, after first sitting on the cushion for sitting in the morning, I realized my shoulders aching too much. I cannot sit upright. I apologized to the brother sitting next to me for moving around so much in sitting meditation. One of them, very sweet, he, without missing a beat, he says, "It's great because it keeps me awake." No problem. But I moved over to one of the pillars. I can lean on the pillar, and that worked for a while. But then there was one morning where I just, my legs just wouldn't. I pulled myself on the door frame. It just didn't work. So luckily, again, one of my younger brothers were there to let me lean on him, so he lifted me up. And then I sat on a chair for a while. And then I noticed, getting up in the morning and getting a ride down here and sitting, coming back to my room for maybe half an hour before going to breakfast. I was sitting in my chair exhausted from getting ready and getting up and move around and walk this long distance. You see the distance from the door down to the parking lot here? It doesn't seem like much, does it? And for a while, trying to get up this little slope here was impossible on my own. I felt like I'm gonna fall backward. With my cane in my right hand, I leaned on my brother again to kind of push me up the hill. This little slope up here. So the strength I have now, today, I try not to take for granted, because I know it's not always been like that. And it might not always be like that. But today is good. I can walk here on my own. I can go to breakfast. I can come to sitting meditation. It's a great happiness. But also not knowing if it's going to last can be frightening. The things we cherish and that we hold dear, we want to keep them. And so what I notice in myself, actually that fear of losing something can sometimes prevent me from really enjoying it while I can still do it. Or when the person is still with me. So that again of asking, am I able to let go? Of saying goodbye to a good friend, or maybe not being able to run anymore. Whatever kind of separation that we're concerned about. If we're able to look into the preciousness of what that has offered us so far. And to recognize that things change. And not be too sure if it's lucky or unlucky. We can smile and we can let go. And what I've noticed when I train myself like that, it's easier to appreciate the next person coming by. The next moment coming by. Being able to walk along the road instead of jogging, I can still feel, wow, that's great. To be able to move my body is already great. To be able to support myself on my legs is amazing. So life is such a dynamic place. On this little patch of earth, on a tiny little planet that seems huge in this galaxy, in this universe. And so what I also had to practice with was to look at my ideas of and habits of how I live. One of the first one was to look at my eating habits. So the last several years I've been training myself to eat 2 meals a day and not have snacks in between, or at least not too much. And I feel like my digestion is better, I have more time for exercise, and I feel like I sleep better, I wake up lighter in the morning. So many positive elements in there. And then everyone around me say, like, you have to eat more. Eat. Doctors saying, like, you can eat whatever you want, however much you want, just make sure you don't lose weight. And so I started having 3 meals and a couple of snacks a day. And I had to recognize in me this impulse saying, no, I'm not really hungry, so why should I eat? I don't really need food right now, I'm not really hungry. It's okay, you eat anyway. Okay, so we have a snack, we chew along, and we have dinner. In the beginning, it's so unpleasant with going to bed with a full stomach. And so recently I stopped eating dinner again. Feels good, but so these things also, when is the right time to drop something that have become a habit or even something I hold on to? So eventually I did start losing a lot of weight. I was going down to 142, 137, 125. And then my mom asked a couple of times if I wouldn't want to start eating eggs. And I say, no, I don't want to do that. And then second time, 122, I say, okay, let's try it. So also that of not wanting to eat animal products, because I know even eggs or dairy or something, it comes from, mostly animals in captivity living terrible lives, if you're not really lucky to have a good source. And so I said at first, like, no, my mind doesn't want to eat eggs. And it was a beautiful exchange because I could recognize that was not dogmatism in me. I was not just holding on to my view of what I believe in, but it was like really like coming from my heart. No, I don't want to do it. And my mother at the same time, however much she wanted to make sure I don't lose more weight or maybe gain some, say, okay, I hear it's coming from a good place. So she also able to let go. And so from that place, a couple of days later, somehow the topic came up again. So I said, okay, like, I'll try it. And at first, I didn't feel good about the idea, but it seemed like my body was receiving it. So I ate eggs for a while, and then I felt like, oh, maybe my weight started going up and stabilizing and going up and stabilizing. Okay, like, I can let go of that again. So that also of having enough concentration and looking clearly into our lives to see what do we need to do, and then when is it appropriate to let go of it, or when is it appropriate to pick something else up. I had a similar experience before I started eating painkillers for my aching shoulders. So that was like, no, I'm someone, I don't take painkillers. And that would, be able to stretch out some of it for a while, and then it would kind of like really get me. So it was when when the car rides down to the hospital started becoming like torture sessions, I realized, okay, this is not nice. You're treating yourself poorly here. You have to help yourself. So also that of looking at how do I treat myself, how do I care for myself was another area of deep looking. So as my conversation with Mr. Melanoma continued, it was like pretty clear that the first message was you need to stop. We talk about stopping a lot, right? Of slowing down and calming and stopping. And so in this case, it was like stop and give yourself time and space. And so when I first came back in August, and I asked the brothers, as we're starting a 90-day retreat, I can accept 3 mentees, and apart from that, like, you cannot count on me for anything. We'll see how this goes. So I could also have the gift of investing my time and energy into taking care of my body. But I also wanted to see if there's, if there's emotional things, there's spiritual things that I can learn from this. And that is in any way causing or contributing to this weakness or this illness in my body. And so, for hours, I would sit in a comfortable chair in my room. That's another great gift my mom offered, the love of a mother. She felt in area after area, she thought like, you're too moderate, you do everything too much moderation, you need a different mattress, you need a comfortable chair to sit on, you need shelves so you don't have to go down to the floor to get everything. Very practical and it helped a lot. So thank you, Mom. She's coming back. And so as I was sitting in this comfortable chair and following my breathing and not being able to really focus my mind much, but just knowing I'm alive and I'm breathing, that was good enough for a while. Then there was this image of myself in different situations in my life where I suffered maybe the most and where I felt the most vulnerable, and that I've looked at and I embraced the little toddler in me, the young boy in me running back home, being teased or not included in a game and crying, running back home. Or the insecure teenager, not knowing who to talk to and how to relate to people. It's like everything seems so foreign all of a sudden. And so as I was embracing these different areas in me, I could see, there's been, I've accepted and embraced some of this. But to a deeper extent, there's also areas of myself and this vulnerable child, toddler and teenager that I cannot doesn't want to really embrace and invite into my life. Feel almost a little bit shameful, like I was like that. Ooh, I cannot accept it. And so I recognized that there was still a layer of healing needing to happen. And so when I first recognized it, I said, I don't have the energy to do this right now. It's like I'm barely kind of able to walk to the toilet in time. So okay, this also having trained my mind enough, knowing, okay, this I need to let go of this now. I'll pick it up when I have enough energy. So again, the necessity to train ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And it will help us enjoy our daily life even when everything is so smooth. And it will help us tremendously if there's any bumps on our roads. And seeing what we can learn from these bumps instead of just oh, never mind, I'm wanting to just continue as nothing happened. And so it was really like that of a bump to recognizing these areas that I haven't completely made peace with. And so as I had more energy and I spent more time in breathing with these areas in me, I could almost feel like they're part of the cancer cells in my vertebrae. It's hidden away in the bones. And the more time I spend with it, it's just became more and more clear, the conditions, the people that was around, the situation I was in, it just causes and conditions just leads to that. It feels so natural. So Sister Dang Yim shared a lot with us about interbeing last week, of this is because that is. And I could see like, okay, that little child was that because of his parents, his grandparents, the society, and so on. And also didn't have the tools to deal with those strong emotion and that feeling of hurt. But getting caught in crying and feeling weak and vulnerable and not knowing the way out. And I think kind of a sense of breakthrough happened also when I asked myself, like, how come this is considered weak? What is considered strong? Is it strong to be unkind to someone else? To push someone else out? To beat someone else? Is that strength? And then I could also fall back on my deeper sense of knowing what strength is for me. And those three qualities that came up is like, okay, so for me, strength is kindness, is patience, and generosity. And then I can also notice, like, that is not the message I got from friends, or from family, or from kindergarten. And so it became like an empowering of the little child inside. Actually, the qualities that you cared about, yay! So I'm very lucky to live in a place where those are considered strengths. And I'm very grateful. And so as things change, I try to enjoy the change. I thought, now I can start walking back to the dining hall again. But it took training. I remember the first day I stood at the steps outside the dining hall leading upward. And so I was at the top by the monk's residence. I was looking down. It seemed like an awfully long way down there. 57 steps. So I started with 7 down and 7 back up. So I can do this, it's okay. And I went 10 more down and 10 more up. Okay, that's good enough for today. And I rest a little bit and then start walking back to my room. And then the day after or 2 days after I came back, I said, okay, let's try 10 steps today. 10 steps down, 10 steps up. Okay, well, I can continue. So 15 steps down. And so I continued a little bit longer, and one day I found myself at the deck. Seemed like I discovered the Pure Land. Just the view and seeing the trees around. It's like, wow, it's so beautiful here. And also because I hadn't been able to be there for a while. So it's like losing things. Maybe actually when we see the person again, or we have a similar experience later, we might be able to enjoy it more. So that also, again, like what is the consequences when we hold on and we don't want to let go? Are we able to really touch, to enjoy the preciousness of this person, or this situation? And for some reason or other, we also have to let go. I have a good friend that used to come here most Sundays, and he also helped us with a lot of things. He's been here, he had started coming before I came here. And sometimes he say, it's hard, you get to know some of the monastics, you become close to them, and then you go. What's up with that? And so the monastics, we do come and go, and some stay longer, and some come and go quicker. Circulating from different centers and so on. I say it was difficult for him. And he looked at me and say, okay, you never go, okay, you stay here. But then after retirement, he moved away. Look at that. So we'll better appreciate each other when we're still in front of each other, because we don't know when we'll be separated. So for me also, sitting at the edge of the hall before coming up and hearing my brothers and sisters singing. I also feel like there's an expansion of my heart and feeling there's so many nitty-gritty things of daily life that we put so much effort to, like, she's doing that, she shouldn't be doing that, he's doing that, it's not nice. So much nitty-gritty complaining and not being able to love and appreciate and celebrate this precious life. You know, we can move our fingers, we can open and close our eyes on this planet floating around in so much space. And now how are we investing our time and energy in this very fortunate adventure? We don't know, how long we'll be here in this form. How long we'll be able to meet on a Sunday day of mindfulness here. So what do we want to offer each other when we are together? How do we want to treat people that we live in the community once they're here? Are we able to understand them deeply? To really understand them and their actions? Or are we just comparing to see if they fit into our idea or expectation of what they should be like? And so I'll wrap up by sharing a little bit about a great healing element on this path. So one day I visited the doctor. He said, like, it seemed like the cancer is all dying off. I said, that's great. But now you have diabetes type 1. Like, what? So this lucky, unlucky continues to evolve, so we'll see what happens. But months and months ago, when I still couldn't move around much, the brothers had finalized that we're going to have an outing trip to Big Sur, a camping trip to Big Sur in May. And I said, I'll come. Just look, like, what? You're coming? And so I say, yeah, that's a great inspiration to heal and to transform. And I went. 10 of us went to Big Sur in the beginning of May. And it seemed like my sick leave time is up after that. One brother shared in our happiness meeting that Brother Phap, he went on 2 10-mile hikes. He has more stamina than I do. And I look at him like, oh man, now I can't say that I'm sick anymore. I have to come to everything. But I could also see like my training on a day-to-day basis of following my breathing, being aware of my body and my steps, enabled me to go on those hikes, not necessarily my physical strength. So I followed my breathing, aware of my steps. At a certain point I stopped, and 2 lovely brothers, they stopped behind me. They didn't want me to go last. I just said, I just have to get out of the chit-chatty jokiness because I'm losing too much energy hearing all these voices. So I just wanted to go a little bit in the back. And then we stop and we continue. And for the last several miles to our lunch stop, Brother Peace was walking right by me, and he's kind of feeling like we're just getting a good pace going. I'm with my sticks and with my breath, every now and then stopping and looking at this amazing view of the Pacific, wildflowers everywhere. It's just gorgeous. And so all of those elements kind of, led me all the way to the end. It was easy to go back down again. So for now, it seemed like life is taking a healing turn. But I also want to be careful because I notice very easily is coming back to what is normal. What have I been used to that this body and mind can do for many years? And it seemed like, okay, I've taken a pause now, and now I jump back to what I used to do and how I used to be. Like, oh, hold on. So as we're going through a learning experience, it's also kind of seeing it's probably take as much time and energy and commitment to try to integrate in a way that is kind of worthy of the insights I had on this path on this adventure. So do things a little bit differently and be kinder to myself and keep more energy just for enjoying life and not using all the energy I have for doing something I feel like is fun or interesting or feeling like it could be of benefit. So that was all kind of generosity and kindness. And so I wish you a beautiful day. And thank you for listening. It's kind of hope there's some practical thing that you can also use in your daily life that was offered and shared today from my experience. Yes, thank you for being there for me to lean on.